here's Drake Toll.
Welcome back into the Petty Clinic Low D Bears Den. Drake Toll, joined by Grayson Gruntafer for the big board today, talking football, recruiting, college football in general. There's a lot of stuff going on today across. I always say it every week. I'm going to say it again. College sports do not slow down in early June. They really won't slow down for the next couple weeks. College baseball going on. You got softball. It's in the World Series right now. If you're an NBA guy, I'm not an NBA guy, but if you are, you've been watching the Mavericks who lost out. But the NBA playoffs are still going on. I mean, we got a loaded slate.
Yeah, I mean, and the playoffs are fun. I like the NBA. My team's the Spurs, though,
yeah, mine
so
is too. Yeah.
It's kind of like, I mean, they're not doing much these days. I like it. The product's fine. I wouldn't say it's the greatest game. I prefer college basketball a little bit. I think it's a little more basketball, but hey, NBA's something to watch. It's fun.
Do you prefer the college baseball tournament over March Madness?
Oh, no.
You don't?
Not even.
Wow.
No, I love college baseball.
Wow.
I really do, but it is not March Madness.
Oh,
it's just not.
That's the worst. You must not have watched the Arkansas game last night then?
I mean, I saw some of your posts, so I saw some of the highlights, but no, I didn't sit there and watch Arkansas play. Who did they play?
Nebraska.
Nebraska, who, I mean.
Yeah, the Big Ten.
Cool.
Big Ten's awful at baseball. Yeah, but here's the deal. Those atmospheres, when will Baylor have an atmosphere like that?
For baseball?
For anything.
I mean, they just had in the national championship.
Yeah, I'm saying there was no atmosphere. COVID.
Okay.
COVID stifled it.
I mean,
yeah, like it would have been.
I mean, the atmosphere was. It was okay.
It was all right. It was not. It was just in comparison to what it like. If I think Houston 2012.
Yeah, I will say home teams. For instance, that's going to be a better atmosphere than any generic NCAA championship game for the most part. You have your outliers, like USC Texas was probably one of the most electric atmospheres ever. But yeah, I don't know. Baylor, 2014 or 2015 versus Oklahoma was a pretty crazy atmosphere. There's been some for football, that were pretty up there.
McLean's pretty loud.
Yeah, 2014 versus TCU that comes to mind. That atmosphere is pretty. I mean, when they made their comeback, whew.
2019 OU, the fourth touchdown when Brewer hits Mims just streaking,
On the go.
That was the most nuts. I think it's because it's so enclosed. McLean, for the most part, you get a lot of the noise. It kind of reminds me vaguely of Seattle. Just the way the noise doesn't escape that well. Makes it a little bit louder.
And it broke I think that's the most attended ever.
50,000.
So, yeah.
It's a matter of for me, it's a matter of just numbers wise, which the Big 12 numbers compared to the SEC or even some of the ACC schools, it's just not quite the same. When you look at even Autzen at Oregon has 77 or something, or maybe more than that. And then most of your SEC schools, I mean, A&M, Kyle Fields got 106.
Yeah, they just passed Texas. They're doing their I go up by 100, I go up by 100 thing they've been doing for 10 years now.
Yep, and Texas built the terrible, not sure how much we can specify. Yeah, that's awful,
but it gave them the lead. It's going to give them the lead.
There you go. Yeah, the price to pay, a small price to pay for the lead, I guess. Conversation today around, but I don't know. I was just thinking yesterday about Baylor atmospheres, and I think one of the big things, and folks are going to talk about this for all time, is just what it does when alcoholic beverages are sold at games, how it changes the game, and I think you point to the SEC. That said, do I want that to happen? I'm indifferent.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. It definitely adds to it. I mean, the Big 12 championship, Baylor versus Oklahoma, in which there were alcoholic beverages sold, it was pretty nuts in there.
It does turn it up a notch. Yeah. It's so interesting to me. Somebody was like, the greatest atmosphere in college football is the Cotton Bowl, Texas and OU. And I think that's so bogus. Whether you be, I think it's FNB or FNT that they play Florida, Georgia. When you have it 50-50 split, which those games are pretty 50-50 split, the loudest you can get is a 50% capacity crowd. So it's that's not the loudest that there is. Cotton Bowl's loud because the build of the stadium. But at the same time, your best atmospheres are those it's a home game.
Auburn at Alabama.
Yeah, it can't be. It's not a neutral site game where it's 50-50 split.
Michigan versus Ohio State. That's another one.
I'm thinking Baylor, Duke in Houston, Elite Eight. Those are the outliers of play. Yeah. When you get a local, hey, it's a postseason neutral site, but also it's close to a school.
And against a blue blood in which all of their fans travel.
Yeah,
that's kind of what you need. That's the perfect storm.
I think it was 70-30 that game though. There was a lot of Baylor fans.
There were, but I mean, you still get the travel. Some teams, I mean, you'll get 10% of their fan base showing up, and you're like, wait, there's no one here for them.
Yeah.
I mean, even like UCLA this year, they had people show up, but then Houston, it's like nobody there at the Final Four. I mean, I don't know. That's just how it always is.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like Baylor fans definitely outnumbered Gonzaga in the national championship.
For sure.
Noise level, everything. It's just so disappointing we didn't see just a packed Lucas Oil.
Well, you also have to remember Baylor added a bunch of fans that day because all the UCLA and Houston fans were all cheering for Baylor too. Yeah. So that helped. That help matters.
Yeah, nobody wanted to see Gonzaga win it.
No.
And they did not. Which their AD just retired, too.
Saw that.
On the cusp of a national championship loss. You hate to see it. You hate to see it. Loses a natty and says, all right, that's it. I'm done. I am done. Other conversation today, so college baseball, college softball going on. Odici Alexander, the JMU pitcher for in the College World Series, has been nuts. I don't know if you've watched any of softball.
I did. She got knocked out.
She did.
Last night by Oklahoma.
Yeah, that was sad. It was inevitable, almost, but the fact that she beat them at one point is kind of nuts.
It is nuts, and OU's been very good. It was just one of those situations where you're like, you knew they were gonna get to her eventually because she pitched so well the first time out. It just OU's such a juggernaut softball.
Yeah. She also she definitely threw over 1,000 pitches this postseason.
Yeah.
No way she didn't. Beating Tennessee, then through Missouri and on to the College World Series. Also, so that's baseball, softball, track in Eugene tomorrow, kicking it off with a handful of athletes up there competing in the national championships.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. Excited to see how they can do on the national stage. Baylor's had a pretty good year in track. Some All-Americans. Yeah. It's been nice. Then obviously a big story that happened this week. Trayvon Bromell became the first person I think this year to break what was it? I think he broke 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he broke 10 or 9. No, 9-8 or something like that in the 100. So he's the favorite actually right now to win the gold medal at the Olympics, which is pretty big news. 9.77, I think, is what he dropped.
Jeez.
And good to see him getting healthy because he hasn't been healthy over the past couple of years.
Jeez, another Olympian, man. It's the pipeline. It's the pipeline.
I know.
So football, we've been having the discussion today, college football playoff, because the news came out that it sounds like they're dialing in on a 12-team playoff. That being, I like a 12-team a lot better than I like an 8. I think, I don't, my personal belief is that you don't have a rule where it's like, okay, you can expand, but only by either 2 or 4 teams. You know, I would much rather you say, hey, long term, we want to go 12 for 20 years. Well, then do it now. Don't go, hey, we're going to add a couple, and then we're going to add a couple more. Just do it. And it seems like they might just do that.
Yeah, I've always been fine with 8, but I'm also not opposed to 12. I think it's fine kind of either way to me. It's if that makes sense. It's not really like I hate one or I like the other. As long as each conference gets their champion in,
right,
I'm good, because that has to happen. The system was flawed when 4 teams were getting in, and I mean, you only had 5 power. You had 5 Power 5 conferences,
right,
4 spots, and typically 2 of those spots are going to the SEC. Yeah. So it makes no sense. It's like you're leaving everybody out. So, I like the move. 12 is cool. So the 5 Power 5 champs, and then the group of 5 top ranked team, and then just a bunch of SEC teams. So, it'll be interesting.
But those have to be because you would go from 12 to 8. You'd have to play in. Top 4 get a bye. I like the fact that top 4 get a bye. I agree with I don't want to see 16 seed. Who would be it? Like, I don't want to.
Utah.
16 seed Utah. That's a great way to put that. I don't want to see 16 seed Utah and Alabama. I just don't. I don't care. I don't think Alabama wants to see that. I think the first round bye would be much better. What you've got there for me, you're going to have to do it round 1 play-in is the Chick-fil-A Bowl. You know, and then another play-in's a Capital One Bowl, and another one's the Gator Bowl.
Right.
And then when you get to that 8, you got 4 games between those 8 teams. Hey, one of those is the Rose Bowl, one of those is the Sugar Bowl,
Cotton Bowl,
one of those is the Cotton, one of the Orange. And then you go to the final 2, and you're like, okay, well, one of these is Fiesta, and one of these is the Chick-fil-A, and then you go to the championship, and whatever that may be. But I just you have to kill the New Year's 6 bowls. Those have to become playoff games.
Yes. Yeah, because you have 12 in. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. And I believe you had to be inside the top 14 to even qualify for one. Aside from the automatic bids. Right. But I think there were, for the group of 5, that is. So, yeah, I'm with you on that. I think, there's always going to be people that have problems with who makes it and who doesn't make it. But I think it's a lot different when you're arguing 12 versus 13 or 14 than arguing 4 versus 5 or 6. I just think the disparity is just 4, 5, and 6. You could argue a couple of those teams could have at least won a game. Right. I would say in the college football playoff for the past few years. I think expanding the college football playoff is going to help when it comes to guys that are declaring early too. Not declaring early, but guys that are sitting bowl games out. You're going to have less of that because now it matters. Because right now, college football bowl games don't matter. Kyle Pitts is not sitting out against Oklahoma if there's a chance to win a national title. Right. You're exactly right. That's the thing is college. Like people are like, the college football playoff. The one thing the college football playoff has done is kill bowl games. It has. But you were there for Baylor and Georgia. No one else was. Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, I mean, you're right. What is it? It doesn't matter anymore. Right, half the Georgia team sat out. Yeah, and none of the Georgia fans showed up. No. Nobody cared. That was the most empty I've seen. And both those teams would have been in the playoff. Yeah. And if that was a playoff game, it would have been totally different. Yeah. Great atmosphere. Now, if you're the 13th team, say you're 13, you're Wisconsin, and you're playing number 18, I don't know, give me Tennessee in a bowl game. You're in the, you made it on the outskirts. No one's going to that game. No one's going to that game, nor should anyone go to that game. You are effectively killing every team 13 and on, but you're playing in the Outback Bowl. But the revenue that you're making from the top 12 and having that playoff is going to make up for it. Yeah, you're exactly right. You're going to get your Christian McCaffrey not sitting out a meaningless bowl game. Mm-hmm. He will play in that game. So that's exactly right. And that's probably a big reason why they did 12, because now you're able to put in a lot of those top pro prospects in that game. It's going to be very interesting. I hope it gets taken into effect. Obviously, it won't for this year. I don't think they can make that happen. I don't know if we'll see it till 24. I hope it's the next year. I hope they can squeeze it into 23. I don't think we'll see it till 24. Being realistic though, that's how they operate. But how hard is that to just? I mean, it's not that hard. It's the NCAA. You can't do anything. It's like someone has a good idea and they're like, "We'll table it. We'll talk about that." Yeah, you're right. With that though, if you did 8, then you're saying like, "Hey, your number 9 team. Say you're number 9 Notre Dame." Which is a stupid argument to make because Notre Dame's never good in the postseason. Number 9, Iowa State next season. Hey, your season doesn't matter anymore. At that point, if you're the number 9 team out of an 8-team playoff and you're on the outside looking in, then what do you have left to live for in your bowl game? I know, but you don't. But that's all. Isn't that how it is every year though? Right. It's always like that. When you're not playing in a top bowl, then it's just kind of for fun. Yeah. And again, I mean, this year you would have been talking 8 versus 9 is Iowa State versus Cincinnati. Yeah. Cincinnati would have been automatic bid. It would have been Georgia or Iowa State getting in or not. And as much as I think Iowa State's good, Georgia's much better than Iowa State if you're doing 8 teams. Now, if you pushed it out to 12, I mean, this is where it gets interesting because 12 was Indiana, 13 was Florida. My money is telling me Florida would have gotten in over Indiana in that circumstance. So 10 Indiana just has it. And here's the deal. People will argue like, oh, yeah, well, Indiana was better this season. College, the brand plays into it. There's so much that plays into it. And Florida, healthy, playing their guys, they're better than Indiana. And I think it's easier to make that argument. Coastal Carolina and Louisiana both have losses, so Coastal losing to BYU, who would have been in the tournament if it was 12 teams, you don't have much of an argument. You lost that game. Yeah. It just is what it is. One more. I want to give you this before we get into camps and all the like. You're a USC fan. You loosely follow college sports. Okay, imaginary. Gotcha. Yeah. You vaguely follow college sports pretty closely. Football season, you're kind of around for basketball, baseball a little bit. Every now and then when the Trojans are good. Someone comes up to you on the streets like, "Hey, Grayson, USC Grayson, who has the better national brand in college athletics, Baylor or TCU?" What would you say? I mean, Baylor. Back it up. Oh, why? First of all, they just won the national championship in basketball, so they're a national brand. They're on center stage. Football-wise, they went through some hard times over the past few years, yet TCU did not take advantage of that at all, so they weren't really, destroying the earth. They were beating Baylor, but not really showing too much. Baylor has the 2 Big 12 championships. TCU, I guess, tied for one back in the day. Was that Trevon Boykin? Yeah. TCU had LaDainian Tomlinson. He was really good. Yeah. Loved watching him for the little bit I did. High school? He went to university in Waco, right? Yeah, I don't follow college football very much, but but I think that's where he went.
Hey, just go to Rudy's. There's a shrine. There's a LaDainian Tomlinson shrine.
Oh, my gosh. And, yeah, I mean, if you loosely follow, I just think, I mean, Baylor's national championship just completely changed things. Yeah. That changed the game. Between those two schools, athletic programs-wise, that's how you get on the map for a casual fan.
Prior to the championship, it's probably tight.
Well, I mean, because it's hard. Why is a USC fan going to watch much Baylor or TCU?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you're right on that. And so you have to have those national moments. And while Baylor came up short in football in those national moments, they did not in basketball.
Ah, that's true. They did not. Nah.
They did not.
Well put. Camp this past weekend. Nice. We're bringing it back, man. Folks are playing in McLean right now. Dave Aranda getting his first shot at leading a couple of these things. Take me through a lot of what you were able to see this past weekend, kind of what your weekend looked like football-wise.
Yeah, so showed up at camp 8 o'clock and got to go in and see a bunch of top recruits in the state and kind of outside the state as well. Baylor had 5 offers from the camp, and basically the setup is you go in, they did the COVID check-in, and then went down to the field, got warmed up with Vic Valoria and the strength and conditioning staff. What a group. They are so much fun, so much energy. So I loved seeing that. They got them warmed up, got them ready for the 40 time, the verticals and everything like that. You had players out there. I got to see Jacob Gall for the first time.
Really?
Which was cool. Got to see a bunch of other players, but obviously Gall's the one you pay attention to.
Big guy?
Big guy.
Big guy.
Big guy. Not as tall. So standing next to Xavier Newman, not as tall as Xavier Newman.
Okay.
So probably more like 6'1", maybe 6'2", but thick legs. You can tell he's going to move. He's going to move people. His ankles, his calves, really thick. So I think he's a guy who's built really well, and he looks like a center. He looks like a center. So I do think that's probably where he'll fit in. But watching them go out and coach the recruits as players themselves was cool. Terrell Bernard's out there helping the linebackers, and then you got Ron Roberts, Dave Aranda, Joey McGuire, Sean Bell, DJ Johnson. I mean, they're going out there and they're just working really, really hard. And it's a lot of fun to see them. And yeah, DJ Dennis Meatball Johnson, he's a guy who...
That is the most hype, non-strength and conditioning coach that exists.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's great. He's absolutely great. He was coaching guys really hard. He had them running back to the line after every rep, and he demanded attention. It was really cool, the attention to detail. And I think I got to see some of these coaches' personalities more than I think I have recently, just because we haven't been there to see them.
How has Dave Aranda's personality developed to you in the last year?
He's much more comfortable.
Yeah.
He's just much more comfortable, and obviously this year was just one of those weird years where not only did you not develop relationships with the players, but you weren't able to develop relationships with kind of your just culture, with the people outside of the program. And he just seems in his element now. I mean, he's going around talking to all the coaches. They're having a good time. He's talking to recruits. He's talking to anyone he really wants to and getting information. And I just think he's having so much fun right now.
Good.
And with the camps going on, recruiting picking up, I think it's only going to be more fun for him and the entire coaching staff.
So interesting to me. I remember like the West Virginia game and a couple of those early games where it was like, just yell, just like get into somebody's grill and just give me something. And that's what a lot of the fans were screaming. And it feels like, even toward the end of the year, you could see him. Like, the passion's there, and it's becoming more and more outward. He's got the stoic look to him, but also you're starting to see you can see him becoming more comfortable and growing in his own.
So yeah, and I will say a big thing about college football, and I think it's so underrated, is coaches have to learn how to coach certain players. And if you don't know your players well, then you don't know what works for those players. So if you're yelling at one guy who does not handle that well and is much better when you're just laying out facts and talking in a soft-spoken manner, well, then things can be misconstrued. On the other hand, you have a guy who needs to be pushed.
Yeah.
And you don't really know. You're kind of walking around, the subject at hand a little bit, but now you get to know these guys and get to really feel out their personalities. And I think that's going to be a huge improvement for this Baylor team. Everyone's going to be on the same page, and everyone knows what the expectation is, and that is what it is. And I think for Dave Aranda, in his situation, it's now he knows the players really well and knows how he can kind of pass out direction and provide that leadership in a way that is constructive and really helps this team.
It's so much for me, the fact that if Baylor would have brought in a Lane Kiffin or a Mike Leach who has this just brash or wild personality, they're comfortable day one, but in a very like almost shady car salesman way where it's like Chad Morris effect.
Where you're
like,
losing half the team to the transfer portal.
You have great slogans, but also you're kind of not very good at being a football coach.
Right. I mean, look at what happened to Mike Leach. They lost so many guys, and so many guys just quit this year for Mississippi State. I mean, they looked good at the beginning, and then it come to find out.
They beat LSU, and then it was like, oh, shoot.
And then we realized LSU was really bad last year.
Yeah.
So.
Mississippi State beats LSU, and it's like, this is the one. And they don't score a point for like 3 straight weeks.
And LSU just keeps losing, and it's just like, oh, that was not an impressive win anymore.
So yeah, for Mike Leach, and which makes me think, people were talking about then, like Dave Aranda, like, questioning his personality, questioning his passion, questioning how ready he was. Is he comfortable? I would much rather have a guy come in, hey, I'm going to feel this thing out, learn how I can do this, the best that I can do it, and then go out there and punch it in the mouth when I'm ready to. And even in interviews, he's like, he's ready now.
Well, and he made the changes. He put his foot down
Boom.
and was like,
that's the best part.
I'm not settling with what we did. Yeah.
1 year in, it's not like, hey, you got a grace period. It's like, no.
I made a mistake.
You're done.
Yeah, I made a mistake.
Yeah.
That's what he's basically saying, and he went out and got the best of the best, and Eric Mateos and Jeff Grimes, watching them is a pleasure as well to watch. You want to talk about a guy that brings the energy. Eric Mateos, my goodness.
Yeah.
He's going to bring some fun to the offensive line, which I think is going to be much needed and will help a lot.
Yeah, just that hire in itself. It's the Fedora was on the decline in his career. He had been fired. It's the, hey, we're going to help rejuvenate that coach. But this isn't the Alabama or New England Patriot rejuvenation program. This is a, hey, who's up and coming, who's got a trajectory. I mean, Jeff Grimes should be a head coach in 5 years.
Yeah, could be.
Sean Bell should be an OC or a head coach in 5 years. Yeah. Joe McGuire, same thing. I mean, you're looking at guys on the staff that they shouldn't be here in 5 years, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that means you're doing really well.
Right, that's what you want.
Yeah, and I think Mateos has a good trajectory as well. I really do. I think that I hate comparing coaches, but I do think we'll see what he does at Baylor. That's
He's
a big
Sam Pittman prodigy.
I was going to say, you could see him turn into Sam Pittman a little bit where at some point he ends up being a head coach. Right. It would not surprise me.
But it took Sam Pittman a long time.
It did. But he also passed on. He waited till he got the right job for him.
Yeah, he didn't go to South Alabama
or Southern Miss. Like he waited, and that's a big difference. He could have been a head coach much longer time ago.
Yeah. So how about this? Talking about some of these offers that came from the camp across this past weekend. Talk to me through a couple of players you looked at that you really liked.
Okay, I think we'll just start with the 2022s. I think that's a good place to start. So Ennis Sledge out of Neville High School in Louisiana, a really, really interesting prospect who I've been talking to him since November. He's one of those kids that just sent me his film. And we just started talking. Yeah. He hadn't even talked to the Baylor coaching staff, nothing like that. And we just kind of talked through his recruitment a little bit and what was going on. And I saw him on Saturday and was kind of surprised to see him. I hadn't heard that he was going to come to the camp. I knew he was talking to Baylor a little bit, but showed up 6'4", 300 pounds. Jeez. Full-grown man out there, and a guy who I think will be a perfect fit if he ends up at Baylor to play the nose tackle position. So excited about his potential. He's also a guy who is going to visit Texas Tech, and I believe TCU over the next month. But he said he's making a decision June 28th, and he did tell me back a few months ago when I first started talking to him that Baylor was his dream school. And I asked him again after he got the Baylor offer, and he said, Baylor's still my dream school. So things are trending up. June 28th is his date that he has set right now. We'll see if that ends up happening. I felt like that might be a little rushed, but if you know, you know. So we'll see what happens if he can add even more offers.
Wow. One of the guys that I've been looking at Peoples. Yeah,
Jalen Peoples.
So I saw that he's not going to the Iowa or to an official visit at Iowa now. He posted the thing in the Kansas uniform. What's going on?
So he took his official to Kansas.
Okay,
that's why he posted that. So obviously, when players go on official visits, they take the pictures. Yeah, exactly. He canceled his trip to Iowa. Not exactly sure why he did that, but I don't know if you caught this. There was a little bit of drama over the weekend, I guess, because someone posted something Jalen Peoples posted. Someone posted Davion Mitchell, saying "Let's go" like in a GIF.
Yeah.
And some Iowa reporter said he's like, this isn't Baylor basketball. Baylor football and Baylor basketball are totally different things, or got all like, I don't know, was making some sort of statement. And then a day or two later, Jalen Peoples isn't going to visit Iowa anymore. I don't think it was because of that, but it just was kind of funny and ironic. But yeah, he won't be going on a visit. He's committing June 28th, I think is his new date that he set. It was originally a while ago. Then it was July 1st. Now it's June 28th. Good news for Baylor is that would be right after his official visit, which is the 25th through the 27th. I mean, if they can't win that battle, if he's committing the day after he leaves, I mean, that would be kind of a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, 24/7 Hawkeye. Basketball is not football. Baylor football recruiting with Baylor basketball. I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, no.
But that probably didn't bode well for your fan base when growing up in Arkansas, that's all it was. It's like a recruit was like, here's my top 5. Arkansas is in there. It's just all Arkansas. Commits somewhere else. It's just a horde of Arkansas fans. Like,
well, now he's not visiting. So
yeah, that's
they're out. Yeah.
Iowa football, man. Will Iowa football win a championship in our lifetime?
They might make the playoff now. 12 teams.
Yeah, 12 teams.
They've been on the verge a couple times.
Baylor would have made 3, maybe 4 playoffs in the last 10 years in a 12-team format.
What do you got?
3 for sure.
13, 14, and 19.
19?
Is 15 the question mark?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they probably would have. It would have been close. When going into the North Carolina game, I believe they were, maybe 12, 13, 14, something like that.
It's right. You're going right there, which you're missing a quarterback, but also ended up being fine.
Yeah.
They found a way to just rush for 700 yards.
They could have won a playoff game. They wouldn't have won the championship, but they could have won a game.
I feel like that's most years, though, It's like Baylor's really good, but would they have a chance to go Alabama?
I think 13, 14, maybe.
Yeah.
I really do. I mean, Ohio State won the championship. Alabama had Blake Sims that year. That just was not one of their better teams. And then in the championship, you would have been playing Oregon. And you never know. In a shootout like that, you never know.
Right.
That wouldn't be a team that would scare you. The Alabama win that Ohio State got was pretty much it. That was the title game.
Anything that I'm not checking off in football, recruiting, stuff going on right now?
Well, I mean, there was another 2022 offer in the area.
Oh, bring it on.
Out of Colleen Ellison, Devontae Tizzino. He got an offer, 6'5", 250-pound defensive lineman. Again, came to camp, performed really well, got the offer. That's kind of a trending theme is Baylor builds these relationships with guys, and then they get them on campus for a camp so they can really see their testing, athletic times, measurables, everything like that. And then an offer can come, and that happened for Tizzino. So big offer for him. He's kind of been on a roll. Right after he got the Baylor offer, he got, I believe, Minnesota and Kansas State back-to-back. So I don't know where that evaluation came from or if they just saw Baylor offer after a camp and wisely decided to offer.
Yeah.
Could be a bunch. They also have 3 more offers they put out in 2023. So they really had a nice day. They also sent out an offer to a 2024 quarterback, Derek Lagway, who's a Baylor legacy. That happened just a little bit ago. So really cool to see that for him. And, I mean, you want to offer legacies as early as possible, and they definitely got in the mix. He's 6'3", 209 pounds, and plays both baseball and football. So I think he'll be a recruit for both for the Bears, which, I mean, that's always nice. He said he was throwing 89 right now on the gun as a, incoming sophomore?
Yeah, that's a lot.
He's about to be a sophomore.
Jeez. Well, develop that.
Yeah,
God
exactly.
Bless. Well, Grayson, thanks for coming on the big board as always.
Yeah,
football,
thanks for having
baseball,
me.
everything else in sports. This is developed into just sports.
It's just sports. We just talk.
I love it.
We just talk.
It's like a 30-minute podcast in the middle of a live radio show. That's exactly what this is.
Yeah.
This is a mini podcast
It is a mini
in the middle of a radio show about everything. You know what? Next week, let's talk about politics.
Oh, no, I'm out. I'm not coming up for that one.
This is what do we call it? The Armstrong, Elliott, or what? No, it's the Equestrian and Everything Else podcast. Yeah, talking about equestrian and mixed drinks.
Oh, I haven't seen the Equestrian yet. When are we talking that?
Yeah.
Is that coming up?
That's coming up.
Okay,
We got
cool.
big horses. They're bringing a couple new horses that I'm excited about. Drake Toll, Grayson Gruntafer. We got Armstrong Sims, Andrew Robertson, Marquise Cooley, and Jack McKenzie. When we come back, Morgan Uber joins the show. Don't go anywhere. This